Memory is a dry world, but with enough local plants to maintain a breathable atmosphere. Some of the indigenous forms of cactus-like, drought-resistant plants grow dozens of meters high. Most of the animals that have evolved here are nocturnal. This planet was first settled only a few centuries ago, and the population is still relatively low, but they have developed a diverse set of industries, including manufacturing and medical research. The local government has not yet seen the need to set aside funds to replace the spaceport built by the original settlers. Mostly just a collection of poured concrete pads where larger ships can land without sinking into the sand of the desert. They have added some large hangars for richer clients and Navy ships. However, and over the years, more and more buildings have sprung up along the periphery of the landing field. Drop off your cargo of asphalt and collect your payment, 17,550 credits. Nifel? Or Nifel? I'll say it like nickel. Nifel is a cold world with summers too short to grow most crops, and very little indigenous wildlife aside from thick-furred mammals, and some migratory birds that travel from one hemisphere to the other every year. 4 centuries ago, when much of human space had been in travel quarantine for a decade to block the spread of the Vergelian plague, it was here that researchers discovered a cryophylic bacterium growing in the permafrost that could be used to combat and eventually eliminate the plague. Well, it's very fortunate. Some research labs and manufacturing plants still remain in operation here. As with many of the fanciest buildings in the deep, the spaceport here is built of carbon fiber and plastic composite instead of more traditional materials. The particular composite used here is slightly translucent, so the hallways and hangars are all bathed in dim and diffuse sunlight. The port is located near the equator, but the air is still uncomfortably cold. The spaceport is large enough to house 10 times the number of people and ships that are currently here. You wish the workers the best of luck on follower and collect your payment. Follower is on the edge of the Paradise planet's region of space. Not really one of them yet, but aspiring to be. It is prosperous, but from manufacturing rather than law or finance or venture capitalism. A significant fraction of the local taxes collected here are being spent on terraforming, raising global temperatures, and reducing seasonal fluctuations. The goods produced here always have a ready market to purchase them, so Follower's job economy is considered very stable. As one of the few planets still actively engaged in terraforming, Follower has been the location of several experiments with new technology, trying to leapfrog the centuries-slow process that other worlds have gone through. Unfortunately, most of these experiments have failed, sometimes spectacularly. The spaceport is a single skyscraper, 50 floors tall and as wide as it is high, with the floors twisting around each other in a helical pattern, so that on each level the landing bays are approached from a slightly different angle. The whole structure is built of steel and gleaming glass. Inside, the soaring ceilings give you more of a sense of opulence than of comfort. Wish the workers the best of luck on Geminus, and collect your payment. You drop off your cargo of circuit boards and collect your payment. Today, throughout human space, is Remembrance Day, the anniversary of the beginning of the Alpha Wars more than 5 centuries ago. The Alphas were genetically engineered soldiers with superhuman agility and intelligence, and a complete lack of compassion or empathy. I don't see what could have possibly gone wrong. At the height of the war, dozens of planets had been enslaved by the Alphas. Remembrance Day commemorates the beginning of the war, rather than its end, as a perpetual reminder that the war is not over. Although the Alphas were defeated, some of them escaped and remained in hiding, and they and their offspring are presumed to still be present in the galaxy today. Since the Alpha War, genetic resequencing technology has been very tightly controlled. Because the Alphas were the product of experimental genetic manipulation rather than natural evolution, it is believed that their genes are less robust than true human beings, and they are almost unable to have viable offspring without access to special technology. Therefore, most Alpha enclaves that have been discovered since the war have had very small populations, no more than a few dozen. In these days, when the Navy ensures peace throughout much of the galaxy, on many worlds the Alphas are treated as nothing more than a boogeyman story to frighten children. Because the most striking physical feature of the Alphas was their photosynthetic skin, on some worlds kids even run around wearing green face paint on Remembrance Day, trying to frighten people. But on other worlds, especially on the fringes of space, where the Navy seldom patrols, the Alphas are still spoken of with fear. Well, February 20th, Remembrance Day. Thrall has a warm, moderate climate and a geography of mostly gently rolling hills. Most of the industry here takes the form of agriculture, especially growing cotton. There are also 3 major cities where the cotton is spun into thread and woven into textiles for export off-world. It is one of the few places in the galaxy where cotton is picked by hand, because labor here is cheaper than the cost of buying and maintaining machinery. The locals are prevented from seeking more lucrative employment elsewhere, partly by the crushingly low wages, which make the cost of space transport prohibitively high for most, and partly by the educational system, which is among the worst in the galaxy. The spaceport consists of a vast, asphalt-paved field for landing ships, and some wooden buildings a few stories tall. Most of the materials for export are stored in sheds or stacked under plastic tarps, with a few police officers clustered around them to make sure no ship picks up cargo that has not been paid for. Inside the buildings, 2 restaurants with different names serve an identical selection of fried foods. wish your passengers the best of luck on silver and collect your payment. You wish your other passenger the best of luck on silver and collect their payment. Eons ago, Silver was a lush tropical world. It is now mostly desert, but large oil deposits remain below the surface. The petrochemicals mined here are refined to produce plastics, fuel for terrestrial vehicles, and some components of medical ointments and antibiotics. The deserts are hot in daylight and surprisingly cool at night, and as a result, most settlers live in houses sunk into the ground in regions where there is enough plant cover to keep the dunes from shifting in the wind and slowly burying their dwellings. The spaceport is near an oasis. Cactus-like plants and a few palm trees stand as tall as radio towers. On the outskirts, the landing pads are made of concrete, rising several meters above the ground to protect both against the encroaching sand and against the flash floods that come in the rare times when it rains here. Under the clear sky, and with white sand in all directions, the sunlight is painfully bright, and you have been warned to avoid prolonged exposure to it. So this is a rush delivery. We'll go right up to there. But I believe this would be a good wrapping up point. And this is how the game plays out now. You go around the job board and you notice if anything happens like that Remembrance Day or anything pops up at the spaceport. But until next time, later everyone.